records on Friday. Just want to wait to see where it says live. Okay, cool. We did it!
Yay!
We're just laughing at ourselves. Of course, we start to like reset up our streaming abilities during like Mercury retrograde and like all this stuff. It's like we had everything set up, and then it's like
You notice how every Friday when we have a live stream, there's always a little glitch happening, right?
Yeah, you gotta persevere. Just when in doubt, shut it down and start it up again.
Yes. Happy Friday to everyone.
Happy Friday.
Hope that everybody's doing really well.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
With the hustle and bustle that's going on, right?
The holidays, just
Yes.
the everything right now.
Things really kick off to a different place right after Thanksgiving.
Oh my gosh.
You know?
Yeah. It's funny because I'm working on a project with someone and we had a deadline for the basically December, and we both connected finally yesterday and we're like, we're crazy, right? This isn't gonna happen, right? We should push this back, right? Like, we're both moms, we're both like, what were we thinking, you know? So things have to change sometimes.
And you know what? I think it's a great place to start because, you know, we plan and we don't plan, you and I, to have these live streams and the topics.
Yeah.
The juggling act, right, is in full motion right now, you know, and it's so great in that for many of us, we're receiving the opportunity to have many new opportunities, you know, new ventures, just new everything, you know, but almost to a point where you have to do this, you have to start juggling, you know. Feast of famine, right?
Yeah, and I think this probably goes into what we were just talking about, which isn't going to be our total theme for today, but the year changing. And we could look at it as December, you know, which is tomorrow, is the shadow period for, you know, the year to come, you know, 2019, right? So it's just like, I feel like we're juggling because of the shift that happens, even just from that like numerical standpoint that we were talking about. So essentially, we're just discussing that 2018 for for a lot of people was an 11 year, you know, and what is 11? A portal, a shift, gateway. Downloads, opportunities, challenges too, I want to say, or if you haven't learned a certain lesson, or if there has to be this clean slate or some major thing, it can be challenging as well because, you know, we're kind of put in that position. But there's some of us like myself that worked with the year as a 2, and that's, you know, there's no right or wrong, I don't think, you know, like what resonates with you. It was a 2 for me, and while I certainly felt all the 11 energies, I did feel the 2, which is more, let's say, supportive, right? Complimentary, partnering with people. I felt like I was working, even our relationship, like there was a lot of partnering going on. And maybe even in our relationship, the 11 was what was coming to you, you know?
And I like that because, you know, in some ways, they do complement each other. You know, the 2, if you look at this year as a 2, or 11, because it is partnership. Support. It's about reflection. A year of reflection.
The mirror,
right? And so here we are actually getting to, you know, the end of that, and entering a 3. So we could agree on that, no matter what. Right?
Yeah, for everyone now.
And you know what? It wasn't our topic today, but we'll take a minute to say, like, you know, to talk about that. And I'd love to hear from you, Loon. 3, you know, a sacred number, in that completion is the first thing that comes to me when I see the number 3, the triangle, you know, which is sacred in itself, you know, coming full circle, you know?
I think of it as like development, like man, woman, baby, or, you know, like the sum and then what becomes from the sum of the 2, or like what happens when you take these 2 parts and then develop on it. So people, but then what comes from that. So we could call that our retreat, like that is an element of the three.
Oh, I see what you're
let's
saying,
say.
like the fruition.
Yeah.
And I love that, yes. And it kind of immediately makes me want to say, or inspire, that it's really important that for the month of December, then, that we sort of put our eggs in place. Not to say that we're not going to be able to create new things.
Of course.
However, the 3-year is going to be about developing, like really anchoring what you've set into motion and brought into the 3-year.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And I think that could lead to what's so hectic always about like this kind of time, or even in general, like, yes, the next year's a 3, but even when we move into a 4, there's still like the odds and ends, or the things like the connections that have to be made, or the work that has to be done in that last time. And you pair into it just like everyone's craziness from like schools being closed a little bit. So you got your kids, or I don't know, just everything, setting up the tree, getting presents for people. Like there's different, depending on what you do for yourself.
That's an interesting thought right there too, because, the mundane things, and I don't mean to be disrespectful with that, but mundane, like the rat hole kind of thing, getting up.
Rat race,
and,
you mean? Like, yeah.
And, the work and shopping and cleaning and this. We need to be mindful, though, because even though we know that, we need to make time for that.
Yeah.
We're in an ascension process where, we're being taken, at 1,000 miles an hour into this new eclipse of energy. And so, yes, we have to kind of like slow down to make time for the life stuff.
Yeah.
And yet there's a lot of opportunities in this eclipse of energy to really take a detour, or take a turn to open up, to step into those doorways to create new opportunities.
Absolutely.
Things that you've been waiting for, things that you've procrastinated or waited on, or didn't feel like it was the right time. You really need to look at that now.
I agree. It's funny because I was just in a like a Reiki 1 with someone yesterday. She was awesome. And we were talking about like how we can use our words or our mind, specifically words for her. She was a very like verbal type, less visual type. And what we can do, even just, the example was the holiday season, and how we can have this like, oh my God, I have to get all these presents, I have to wrap them, I have to bake, my friends want to hang out, or my friends want to get together and do this, and I want to, but I also have all this stuff. And like, what can we do for something like that? And it's, we're just using this as an example because this is stuff that comes up forever in our lifetimes, but it's about, for me anyway, like using, let's say in this case, words to reject the stress or the mundane elements in a mundane, like tedious kind of way, and welcome the warmth, the caring, the connections, the memories that we'll be making, let's say, with our families if we have kids, or like whatever, and how that can be something that if we start doing, it forms a groove. So later when we have stressful situation, we have all this stuff, we're like, oh my God, my brain's going crazy, I have all this stuff to do, it's very tedious. I reject the stress of the holiday season, and I welcome the warmth and the transformation that is happening to me in peace and comfort and serenity. And like use your words to command like what you're allowing into your field and into your mind and into your subconscious, and utilize that to like help with the flow.
I think that's so like so amazingly inspirational and useful is the word that I'm hearing, because it's very easy to go into patterns on autopilot, and again, holidays, certain occasions just trigger us.
Oh my God,
into autopilot and feeling like we need to be, like all crazy all and stressed.
Like check off the list. It's like,
right, because this is happening, and it's scary. Because in essence, what it does is it almost shuts us down for that period of time, I feel, to not be productive, to not be creative, to not be intentional.
And not enjoying what we are doing,
And so being deliberate, and, I don't know if this is going to make any sense, but I just see, out of what you said, finding something that's very simple and special to you, like a CD, a new book, a new crystal, and wrapping it up and putting it under the Christmas tree for yourself. And you know, it's like, what? Like, I know it's there. But it's almost like, no, that's going to represent that you're setting an intention
to give back to yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That from now on,
you're a priority.
I am going to gift myself with, and remember that, and set that forth.
And it's not just the end, like the mindless buying, because like I buy myself stuff all the time, and it feels great at the time, you know.
Right.
But it's that like, no, this is the gift, and you have to wait for it.
Isn't that
it's
a great?
And you,
right. And
beautiful.
By the way, that just kind of came through the divine insight as you were talking, and a simple way to create a shift, and to plant the seed all at once for the new year. You know, like all these resolutions that we put, you know, that people make lists.
Yeah.
To say, you know what, I am making an intention to gift myself with not only something that's special to me, but I'm also creating an intention that this is all a gift. This whole experience, including these holidays. And I'm going to let that vibration be the next step.
Yeah.
Instead of this, whoa, craziness.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like when people are working through like something like, let's say, financial even, or something like that, and receiving. Like, I'm giving myself a gift and I'm receiving this. And it kind of sets that tone for receiving all the other gifts, you know, and kind of like putting that intention. So if you buy yourself a new necklace and put it under the tree, and it represents to you like, I am receptive of all that supports me, and this is what I'm working on this year, or an element of it. It could be that like daily reminder of your, let's say, sacred adornment, or your crystal, or your book, or whatever that, or your planner. She's like, get that shit away from me. No.
There is no secret that I have 2 vulnerabilities: driving, because I'm so cosmic, and calendar planning, because I just don't want to be in linear time. So I think they're kind of connected, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Time
and space.
The consequences of that.
No, I'm just kidding.
Terrible calendar planning.
Yeah, we're both always like, wait, what was that? Let's look at that again. Yeah, just really good stuff. I love that. I love the gift. I love the act of giving to ourselves, because we are like, it is this like expended energy constantly, especially around the holidays. Again, that's the theme here today, right? It's like this, oh, I gotta get this for my kids, I gotta make this for the school, I gotta remember to get the Starbucks gift cards for the teachers, or whatever, right? It's always this. And of course we do receive. It's not that other people don't necessarily give us stuff, you know that happens, that's a part of it. But the act of consciously doing it for yourself is such a switch, is such a gear turning in the...
And you know, as we talk about going into a 3-year, what a great plateau to start in being generous to yourself, in knowing that you have value. You know, when we think of, oh, I'm going to put a gift underneath the tree, and, oh, this is kind of sweet. We need to really expand on the depth of the messages and intentions and seeds of manifestation that we're setting into motion. It is not just putting a gift under the tree.
Right.
But so much more, you know, that we are putting into motion without even speaking, you know, but from the depth of an intention. I think that intention, of course, is everything.
Definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, and
it's
of course,
very powerful, harmful and good, you know?
And then the thought behind the intention, you know, because a lot of times we can have great intentions and then sabotage them through our own thoughts.
Yeah.
Right?
Very common. Yeah, right? Of course.
So of course that follows, but being able to deliberately then and generously do something beautiful for yourself sets into motion something amazing for the new year ahead.
And if like finance is an issue, you can write yourself a love letter, or you know, like something that's, I don't know, because I'm thinking of jewelry. I don't know, my brain just goes to like crystals and jewelry, I guess. But, you know, sometimes it's like, well, I don't have that right now, and that might be part of my stress. But like writing yourself a love letter, or a promise, or you know, I don't know, something along the line. I don't know, something that you can make for yourself that is meaningful. It's not 100% clear, but love letter just came up, you know?
I like that. Or a card.
Yeah, a card. That's what I mean.
Right? Like a beautiful card, a love card to yourself, you know. And again, you know, I'm not a big fan of people who, I shouldn't say people, but I'm not a big fan of like resolutions lists. And the only reason why I have a little bit of an issue with it is because I've observed from working with thousands of people that it's almost like a setup.
Oh, yeah.
In that you need to wait for a certain period of time during the beginning of the new year to set a list that, yes, represents your goals, but is also, you know what, a setup if you don't fulfill them. You know what I mean? Almost
I think,
like
you're
to
right.
use against
it needs
yourself.
to be careful. And I think that happens really with any form of manifesting. What, you know, setting New Year's resolutions is kind of like a very common thing for even like people who don't realize they're like trying to manifest necessarily, or, you know, it's not like on that like more magical, if I can put it, level. But for all like manifestations, from my perspective, it's good to have something clear, but loose, you know, like I want to feel fulfilled. I want to work towards my goal this year. Or, you know, if it's like, you know, weight, that's such a common one, like get in shape. It's like, I choose to, I don't know, be drawn to the foods that will support me and listen to my body. You know, like very simple stuff instead of like, I will get down to 160 pounds by, you know, like that kind of stuff. It's like, no.
Right, because it could be a setup. But more so, I think that every day is a day for, it is a day for manifestation. We don't have to wait until the new year or the beginning of a new year to set all these goals. We should be setting goals every day and knowing that they could be fulfilled at any time. They don't, you know, we don't have to wait until a new year period for dreams to come true. You know, like, no. Every day, every moment of every day is a moment to create and to have fulfillment of something. And so I'm not a big fan, and yet all at once, as we're talking about the years, you know, and the numbers, of course, having a representation, you know, of something that we can step into, it is important it would be very important, I think, for December to have goal setting so that this way you have an idea of what you're setting into motion for when the 3-year comes.
Yeah, I think that it's important to have these goals in some capacity, you know, not super tight, but some capacity, because it also gives you an example or like a picture or like some type of advantage over like, are any of my goals contradicting each other? Like, are any of my goals not making sense in one another? You know, it's not to say that you have to be limited or that there are, you know, like you can't have anything. I do believe in a way you can have anything, but maybe you can't have it all at once. So if your goal, let's say, is to like meet someone, settle down, start a family, but you also want to visit 3 continents or something, you know, like not that you couldn't, but does that necessarily support your thing? You know, like my partner used to want to, you know, he used to be a DJ. So he would like get gigs and tour, and that was something he thought he wanted. And then it was like he was experiencing it, and he's like, this isn't actually what I want, because I want my family and, you know, to be with my son and my this and my that. And it was like the goals were contradicting. Like he wanted this like family lifestyle, but he wanted to like be a star or whatever, or, you know, like not a star, that's like cheapening it, but, you know, he wanted to like go out and have that experience, and they did lifestyle for him like just didn't support one another, you know. That's just like the best example I could think of right now, but you know what I'm trying to say, you know, like where they do contradict sometimes.
That's,
you know,
great. I think you're right. And, you know, I think that as you're saying that, to also be realistic, you know, and again, this is just our share, you know, there's no right or wrong, but to be mindful and, you know, to be realistic means that maybe we work on 3 real important goals instead of 10 goals. Yeah. And again, it's, even though there's a great intention behind that, realistically, are we really going to be able to work on 10 goals? Is that
healthy?
Setup?
Yeah.
Right.
Is that a setup for failure?
To not be able to keep up and then sabotage. Oh, I see. I can't.
Yeah.
Listen, 3 goals is a lot to work on depending on what we're talking about.
I see that so much, like with individuals like looking to manifest, and it's like, okay, well, what do you want? And it's like it's like, okay, but like you gotta work on one thing at a time. It's not to say that you're not working on all of them by just improving yourself and setting a focused goal, and like as you're kind of set on one thing, you're developing, the earth is folding and shaping and moving to bring you all the other stuff you want as well. But you can't have it that open in like a conscious manifesting, because we only have so much focus. Like I don't want to limit us, but we only have so much hours during the day. Like we have limitations here, hours during the day, time in our schedule, like all of these things. We need to sleep. We need to take care of ourselves. There are some limitations here. There are physical limitations. So to have too much, it's just like, then you feel like you don't have anything, because every time you might even be getting closer to something, you can't even fucking tell because you have so many goals out here. So it's like, where's the like validation of I'm moving in this direction,
By the way, yes. When we think of energy as we're fulfilling something and getting closer, the truth of the matter is that we're really contributing to every other goal.
Absolutely.
Because we're actually moving forward.
And we're radiating more authentically of our more divine self.
And so it's not to say that then we should only work on one goal, but to know that there's a contribution, even though we're focusing, say, on the one particular goal, that energy, that drive, that passion, that commitment, that devotion, that everything is, by virtue of you emanating those energies, is going to now start feeding every other goal that's behind it. That's on the side, or right?
Totally. I feel that way with like my channel, like I've been actually talking about this a lot with people lately, because my thing, like my ultimate goal, like in the very simplest way, is to live by my heart, like listen to it, live by my soul, like what do I want to experience, right? And those communications aren't crystal clear all the time, you know, right? But like my YouTube channel, like I have to use that as my example, right? It was like, why am I doing this? Why am I making myself vulnerable? Why? Like, it's not like I was getting any money from it in the beginning. It wasn't what it turned into. It was just a need, like something in my soul being
that.
Like,
yes,
you need to connect with people. You need to make this available. Just do it. Just do it, And as much as it like pains me to like look back on my older videos, I can look and be like, oh my God,
you built
like
something.
what I grew and what I developed. And I've come to this point where all the dreams and goals that I have are fulfilling themselves, but it started there, even though that's not the end goal. It started there.
And perfect example of what we're talking about. How that was your focus, and yet through the fruition of that first goal, you've been able to branch out and blossom into many other directions and dreams and goals.
Yep.
And so, yeah, it's a powerful message about, less is better at the moment, in that, what you're focusing on really needs your everything. And also knowing, not to add anxiety into, but I want to do this to it. Because whatever you're feeding, as Loom beautifully has demonstrated through her own growth, is going to, it's already expanding behind the scenes.
Yeah, behind the scenes.
You're feeding that primary goal that's in front of you.
And you feel fulfilled instantly because of it. And that just puts you in that vibration even more, that like everything is coming to, because you feel fulfilled.
Absolutely.
It's so cool. So, actually, this is like a kind of good segue to what we had planned to talk about. That was not planned.
At all.
But what we talked about was like, what I thought was like a good segue is like being realistic.
Yes.
And this sparked like part of the piece of the puzzle of what we were planning to discuss in terms of, I think it's a little bit of relationships, we could say. A little bit, like it's everything, right? It's everything.
Yes.
Like the... but I'll let you introduce, actually, because it just flew out of my head anyway on how I was going to segue it. So that's my segue.
Well, we were just talking about the differences the shifts, I should say, that we've seen in the fields of the masculine and the feminine, and how the feminine field, whether it's male or female, is taking this amazing shift into this place of empowerment, of, of fulfilling goals, of assertiveness, really out there, in an amazing way like we've never experienced. I know in my lifetime, this is the first time where it's really taken that forefront. And I was sharing with Loon, at least this is my divine perspective, how things are coming into balance. And we say that because we know that the masculine, whether it's female gender or male.
Yeah, it's not gender.
Right.
It's the energy of gender.
The energy,
but not,
exactly. The masculine field has been predominant for millennia.
We can look at that as, the Adam and Eve, like take it back to Adam and Eve, and how Eve's story had been like, no, now she's the bitch who got them kicked out of the garden, and everything was perfect, but this bitch messed it up. She wanted a damn apple. She was talking to the snake. But that's not how I think of that story. But it comes from there, right? The rewriting of God,
yes. And beyond.
Yeah, and beyond.
But that's a central piece. And this is so important because it's not really about, this is so key. It's not about a superior field that now is going to take, take on or take power.
Though. No, it's
really about rebalancing something that's been out of balance for an unspeakable amount
who knows, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Who knows?
We can look at this as, conquering indigenous tribes who worshipped, or I don't know if worship's the best word, but the Mother Earth, and taking that away and feeding them like Christianity and creating this cosmic father that is not the cosmic father. It is this like judgmental, masculine, you're not doing it right, I'm gonna punish you. Know? So
I think it's a very exciting period. Loon shares, of course, in this exciting why. Well, forget about the fields or the genders or the anything right now. Balance is the reason why. It's such an amazing gift and opportunity to be alive in this timeline, because we're actually experiencing balance. And with that balance comes then unification. The less and less need to be competitive or to feel like you're superior and I'm inferior, or vice versa. All coming into a higher place of oneness, by virtue of the balance itself.
Right.
Isn't that beautiful?
It is beautiful.
We need to really know, take that into a deep place, that this is really one of the primary experiences that is taking place right now.
Absolutely. And I think that there can be, because of course there's always the other side to the coin of like, the shadowy part or whatever. But we see a lot of, and this is not judgment, this is not like anything, but let's say like a feminist movement that is, then like almost putting this position of like all males as the gender, as like bad or this, and then like I can see why. I'm not agreeing 100% or disagreeing. I'm just witnessing. I'm just trying to look, and I think that we have to play into this. We're trying to create balance here, because if I think I equate most of this to the law of rhythm and the polarities, let's say, of harmony, feminine and masculine, unification in the middle. If we've been swinging in this direction and we're, and it's been male energy, male like patriarchy, whatever. And now we've come into this place where we are feeling harmonious. We're seeing all these transformations within people and, everything about the way we do things, our relationships. The risk is that if we keep, it's a call to move too far. It's like an emotional, when you feel depression and you're so deep in depression, and then finally you have this joy, but it becomes almost manic, like But like here is the sweet spot where that unified place is.
And I love what you're saying. You know, years
I know,
ago,
you're like
I'm salivating. Yes, because years ago, when I used to actively teach the Ascension classes, I would compare it to a pendulum.
Always, yeah.
Right?
Me too. Yeah, the law of rhythm.
And you know how the pendulum is in perfect balance when it is in a neutral state.
Yeah.
You know, in the middle.
Yeah, in the middle.
And of course, we know that everything is movement and that everything has to sway, you know, as above, so below, up and down. You know, we know that there's movement. But in the stillness of neutrality is the greatest apex of alive, of completion, of everything, because it comes to that 0 point.
Yeah.
But everything is in there, you know.
Oh yeah, that's where
in
creation,
the sequence,
that's the
right?
vortex or whatever.
And so I love what you're saying, because we need to also be mindful, right, that this is not, that the goal is not to go from one extreme to the next.
Right, exactly.
You know? And
although it is like in the act of it, it's like
gonna
it's
swing.
gonna swing. It's gonna we
swing.
acknowledge that. That's okay, you know? But like let's not
right.
You know, I don't know. Like again, this is just witnessing. It's not I'm not trying to speak from like a personal point of view necessarily. It's just I'd love to see us return, you know, to like honoring both of these like these divine
flames
expressions,
of energies.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And it's not about gender.
It's not.
You know,
Nope.
like yes, like can we say that male in general may have had it easier? Like if I put it in that position, you know, growing up as a woman, seeing my pay wages be extremely different from people who were on the same level as me, like I can't deny that, you know, like I can't deny that imbalance, right? I can't speak from every perspective. I'm a white woman, you know, like I don't know what it's like to be a male. I don't know what it's like to be, you know, of a different background. Like I can only speak from my part and listen listen. Like I just want to hear everyone's perspective and take that in and know where I can move from there. However, like, so I get it, I guess is what I'm trying to say with like the feminist movement. Like I get it, you know, like I am here for you too, you know?
Right. And I hear what you're saying.
Like it's tricky.
I think that what's important is that we become the observer, because our emotions, of course, and if we look at history, we can really get emotionally coiled in there and say, but look, you know, this and that.
Yeah.
So I think the stance of the observer is a safe place to be, right?
Yeah.
And within that observation, I think that the next level of importance is to look at the characteristics that derived from those fields.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is masculine, meaning no gender, control. Okay. The feminine, from the past, passive. And so if we start looking then at the characteristics that derive from these fields, we can see where the imbalances were without getting into the guys did and the males did and the females did,
it's
and
the energy of that.
But the behavioral and the disposition, the behavioral patterns, the characteristics, and how those are the things that are in questioning of shifting. You see?
Yeah.
You know, controlling, authority, you know, where did that come from? Why do we have to go to passiveness? Why do we have feel less than? You see? And having that, seeing that as the pendulum movement that's shifting, because it really is, by the way. It's not about the it's not about the gender. It is not about the individual. It is not about, it is about the energies and the expression of those energies that is now being shifted. Yes?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, definitely.
And it's such a powerful place, speaking about empowerment, when we take the step back, because if we're not careful and we make this a gender thing, then we're going to create an ugly sense of separation once again.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the thing that scares me the most. You know, like I'm not trying to come off like like I'm judging any of it. Like I'm just trying to witness and see like how can I, because I think that yes, we can be activists, yes, we can say our thing, but the real most important thing that everyone is responsible for is your balance, your unification. Whether it's you and your partner or you and yourself, or like however it's kind of like showing up in your life. I think this is something why we see, and I'm not saying that this didn't exist before. Of course it did. It's been documented many times with like transgender, let's say. I love, oh my gosh, I don't remember where it comes from necessarily, but like two soul, like that's something that's been, I want to say it was in like Native American, certain tribes. I could be totally wrong. So I read this in passing. But they were like two soul, like they were both gender, and it was recognized, like that kind of thing. And I think that either it's happening more, or it's happening just more openly at this point. Like, who's to say? I'm not sure behind closed doors what people have been feeling for all these years. But I'm so happy to see these transformations and this like complete divine spiritual alchemy taking place.
There's such joy, and what comes behind that when as we continue to reach the balance. And again, we need to take a step back and become the observer, because we really are entering an amazing paradise of experience as this continues to unfold. I hope that I'm still here, as it progresses deeper and deeper into that place of balance. And the positive consequences that come when we enter that place of balance. But again, this is not about, I don't need to hate you or to say like, oh, but you did this to me and that to me, or this group did this to me, and in order to get my power.
Right.
So the goal is, don't think about what happened. We don't need to do that, or be mindful of what happened, or be aggressive about what happened. All we need to do is step into our place. You see, really that's where your greatest power is going to be, and your greatest impact is just step in and claim your space, instead of feeling like I have to fight for it, and I have to be nasty about it, and I have to,
there's a grace to, being in your stepping in, right, and living your life in that way, or all of these things. So like I totally understand what you're saying, like the fight, like that's something I'm always not really, wanting to get involved with. Do I see a need for like righteousness? Like absolutely, like terrible things happen to people. Should we ignore it, like or not learn from it? That's not what we're saying. It's more about like how can we take an approach that is more effective, or like in unification and effective,
Beautifully said, Loon. Right. It's about what is the easiest, most effective and unified way that can make a huge contribution, as opposed to a separation. Because if we're not mindful, and we've said it a few times already, this can backfire if we enter it and approach it energetically in a lower vibrational state. I'm gonna get you, I'm gonna show you,
where does that come from? It comes from fear. It comes from
anger.
And anger, and a
unresolved
place where
anger.
You don't feel like you're in a place where you want to be, so you want to like teach someone else a less, like it's like this kind of like dynamic of play. And it's something we personally talk about all the time. We might have talked about it here as well, of just like focusing so much on the fight that we're not focused on the goal of what we're trying to create. Now, that's certainly not everyone, but you can see how that gets caught up. It's just like worrying too much about the details around the holidays instead of like enjoying, the hot cocoa wrapped up and just like,
I think that as a humanity, many of us, or many situations and many lifetimes have forced us to put the gloves on, and we needed to put the gloves, or we needed to uphold the sword, because we needed to survive. I And yet within that, there's also that aggression of needing to battle, going to battle.
And what will that do for karma and playing out through,
And there was a time and a place for it. And we know that in many lifetimes past, we did have many battles in order to, for the justice to prevail. But that is not what we need to be doing right now. We did it.
I think it's certainly there, like, because things come up in my mind, like, fighting for human rights, like activism for human rights, like in a very general way. And that could be, all kinds of different stuff, right? So, like, clearly there's something to that because voices need to be heard or whatever. But it's missing. Yeah, no, and I know. I'm just trying to, like, err on the side of, like, over-explaining because it's not like we're talking about, like, no, you just sit in your room and then you, envision a perfect world and you go out in it.
It approaches everything,
bringing it in. Yeah, it
approaches everything. We need advocates and we need the voices and expressions and declarations more than anything right now. Right. But it's the approach.
Exactly. It's the reaction.
That I think that I'm,
Yeah, absolutely. We were just talking about that too,
Right. Like,
yeah.
Or, the grace of being able to step into a platform to declare yourself. I'm being propelled, and I'm just going to share this really quick just to illustrate this. And maybe I have in the past, and maybe I haven't, but I was violated when I was 12 years old. I had a daughter when I was 13, and I was forced to live with my rapist for 5 years. Now, why am I sharing that in the middle of this discussion? Because just on that alone, what I just said in 30 seconds would have given me a right to be angry, to be confrontational, to hate men, people, men, religion, everything, and given me a rifle.
Yeah, you would understand. Like, you would say that's why she feels that way.
Anything but that was what helped me to create the amazing, graceful platform of 20 years of divine healing, of teaching, of 16 books. It wasn't anger. It wasn't confrontation. It wasn't needing to take a stance in a negative way. I did use that platform, though, in a loving way to say, by example, this was my journey. And these challenges helped my soul prevail, you see? So again, I'm bringing that up because I'm a strong believer as a teacher that it's how we perceive things.
Absolutely.
And then how we approach that energetically, that's going to make all the difference in the world. We could be the victim, we could be angry, or we can see the gifts in those experiences and use them as a beautiful platform.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Right?
It's so important to... It's, again, alchemy. You're turning this, like, terrible experience that you wouldn't wish on anyone into something that catapulted you into, like, one of your, I'm sure you've had a few over the years, but, like, this extreme, like, oh, my God, like, what do I choose here? Like, I have this option. We all have the option constantly of how we're going to react. And this is what we're talking about with the feminine and the masculine energy. It's like, how am I going to react here? Like, can I take it from a place that is fierce yet nurturing? Like, it can be both.
Yes.
And
speaking, as you said, nurturing right now, and again, this is my divine truth. I'm sure that, there's no absolute, but to my divine insight, every ray of energy, like there's rays, like the 7 chakras, there's many rays of energy, portals, if you may, is represented by certain deities. And the 3rd ray of ascension is represented by 3 that I'm aware of. The Mother Divine, known as many manifestations, Kuan Yin, Mother Mary, Hathor, Serapis Bey, who is an amazing ascended avatar, but what does he represent? Teachers, teaching, and Archangel Michael are the 3 head avatars of the 3rd ray of ascension.
Interesting.
And how I think they play a part is, you said nurturing, if we have any, resonance to opening up to any of these, what they can offer, well, nurturing in the Mother Divine. Teachings, in other words, growing, expansion, being open in the third year, in the year 3, to being mentored and mentoring, really is what it is. And then, of course, Archangel Michael and the continuation of removal of obstacles, like the Ganesh, So as you move into this third year, a year of 3, I should say, these 3 rays of pillars are also supporting us. Isn't that amazing? Don't you love it?
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And it makes, it's so funny because when we were talking about 3, this didn't really come up in my mind, but, we can look at it as, masculine, like this, right? Feminine, and, what happens when those are created, what's in the middle,
right.
Boop, that's the third, the third piece,
Yes.
the blue and red equal purple,
yes.
kind of
the flame, the
the
uniform,
flame,
right? Yeah. And then, of course, for those that are deeper into the mystery teachings, I hear the number 3 and I go this way. And I was saying to Loon, of course, the mystery teachings, the beloved thought comes into motion. And the year 3 is about precision, sacred geometry,
strength.
Being, creating the Merkaba in your divine space. And that means rotating, knowing that you're being navigated, but that you are the navigator. And the empowerment that comes in the knowingness of that, in, imagine yourself in a spaceship, which is in some ways what a Merkaba is,
like a soul body spaceship.
The perfect sequence of that, knowing that, in a sacred 3, you have the ability to know where you're being navigated to. I don't know. That's a little bit too deep. Right.
This is from the beloved book that you suggested for me, the Flower of Life, right? Drambalo. And 3 is very significant for a lot of reasons, clearly, obviously. But with the Merkaba, there's a meditation that's described in that book that was taught through one of the mystery teachings, mystery schools of way back. And I've done this meditation and I was like,
yes, it's very powerful.
So you focus on yourself and you project one direction. So it's back and front. So if I'm sitting, it's front and back. So that's one line. How far can I perceive in front of me? Where does my Merkaba end? Where does my sense end? And see that in your mind. Some people's are clearly going to be bigger than other. That's okay. And then 2, up and down. And then 3, left and right. And you focus on holding these lines and then connecting them. And they form the Merkaba. Yeah, I know you're like, yeah. They form the Merkaba.
I just become very emotional because that's my language, and there's so much depth and so much revelation. There is so much empowerment. There is so much to our essence. When we start tapping into the simplicity of the Merkaba and what you just did, right? Up, down, sideways, and in front of me. It is everything. And
it's amazing.
It is amazing.
Getting into that space, I highly suggest, if you're open to connecting with your Merkaba, bring yourself into love, compassion, and joy, and just peace. Send out what you can perceive. It's like if you walked into, I think in the book, it's like if you walked into the blackest room, we'd still, the darkest, you'd still feel a certain amount in front of you. We just have this sense, and that's what you would focus on. And then you connect them, and you're just like, oh my God. It's not even you necessarily have to travel. It's just the experience of being in this sacred space.
Never mind that.
And the downloads.
The downloads. And never mind of what you really become aware of. Because the up and down connects you to the earth.
Yeah.
To the core of the earth and to the cosmos. The sideways, to me, connects you to all the directions. So there's a lot of shamanic expression in the Merkaba. It connects you to the direction, so the security that you're being guided by the directions. And then the front is you in your conscious experience, in your creative space. where you're going and what do you desire and, you know, like what are you putting into it is just very powerful.
It really is. It's definitely not like the lightest of meditations, but it can be gentle enough. Like it's not a scary one for sure. You know, I don't think we're opening like, you know, I always get like the question, you know, not often, but often enough of like, I felt a presence in my room, like what does that mean kind of thing, you know, and I don't know for whatever reason it's coming up because I'm maybe troubleshooting a little for if someone does a meditation like this. I do think it's wise to always protect our space through our intention. So if you're going to do a meditation that you feel is potentially out of body, or you've been, two people that have done it as well can tell you like, no, it's no joke kind of thing. It's not just, you know, a guided meditation. No, not to discredit those, but you know, like that's like more light, I'll say.
Right.
Make sure you use your words. Your words are so powerful. I am in the most sacred and safe of spaces right now, and I have only access and to love and the highest vibration. You know, like just something like that to command
yourself in a white tube of light.
Yeah, that's another way.
Before you perform, if you feel compromised or vulnerable in any way, encase yourself in a white tube of light before you start. And when I say encase yourself, I literally mean that you start from your feet and you envision a zipper coming up all the way up, at least 4 feet above your crown. And you encase yourself with a white tube of light, and you tell the guards to encase you call Santa Clara and you tell to
call the corners, you know,
and you're good to go. You're good to go. You know,
there are definitely lots of ways to do it. I love that way too. My other teacher says that as well. Like if you got it, she's like, put on the hoodie, zip it up, you know, or like see your wings come around and protect, like whatever works for you. Like I'm definitely big on visuals. I take a lot from movies, you know, like I'll be trying to explain something. I'm like, it's like Dr. Manhattan, or it's like, you know, I know you probably won't know what that is, but it's just this like divine, amazing, like comic guy, and you're like he's daddy, you know, like I love Dr. Manhattan, like, you know.
And you know, you said something that's sparking me to share something, you know, about seeing people.
Sorry.
No. Let's get those giggles about seeing, you know, entities and stuff, you know. Wow, we need to do a discussion on that because, you know, a lot of that comes from fear, that whether we realize it or not.
And it's most likely your own fear.
And your own fear. And a lot of it is also emotionally wrapped up in emotional pain that may be from past lives. And I say that real quickly because yesterday I had someone here at the office for the first time. And I was doing an oracle reading and I said to her, you have 2 sons, right? And she said, no, I have 1. And I said, oh. And I tried to ignore it, and now the presence is in front of me, okay? I'm saying like, wow. So now I have to go.
Because Blanca's a medium, if you don't know, so.
So now I have to go to that place, you know, and say like, wow, did you have a miscarriage or did, you know, this or that? And she was like, no. And I was like, wow, like what is this? Anyway, fast forward. I said to her, listen, you know, there's a son with you from a past life. Anyway, we leave it at that. We move from a reading now to a healing, which many people come for both.
Yeah.
And at the table, the son comes through with a message, right? And tells me his name. And so, of course, I write it down. And I tell her after we're done, did you feel anybody? Did you this? And she says, oh, I thought I saw a young boy. And I said, you did? And all in one moment, I can't explain it. If I had a television, these are the moments that I live for. She says to me, was his name Michael? And there it was on the paper. So what am I saying is, we don't need to be afraid. Because if we're open, and she had a crack of being open, you see? And in that little crack, she was able to not only have the experience while under a healing, but even know. Because when I gave her the paper and I said, there was like not a dry eye here, right?
Yeah.
But she allowed it to come through, you know, and actually place herself.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm saying is, you know, we need to look and see if we're not preventing from having these amazing experiences, which is what we should have, because we have a fear, because of this, because we can have, oh my God, profound experiences.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so funny. I feel like it's a very big time right now for these like spirit guides
it is.
sort of
There
things.
it is.
Even my partner, who was like, he had one where he was like, it was like this. He kind of explained it. I'm like side talk, like as like what Marcella's guide, the like kind of like fishy, blubbery kind of guy.
Yes.
And it was like more like a starfish though, and he's like, this sounds crazy, and I'm like, no, like spirit guides or guides, like, yes, this is clearly past life. You could identify, you know, like she was with someone who's very good at identifying this kind of thing, right? But sometimes our spirit guides show up and they're bizarre. Like, it's bizarre. Like, what is this thing? Like I'm expecting, that's like this totally side thing. This is planned for another one. I'm making a list. I'm checking it. But it's like, we expect to have the spirit guide connection, right? Maybe we'll have a guided meditation or something, and we're expecting like a guy with a beard or this goddess sometimes it's like this roly-poly thing, like, hey, you gotta get in touch with your feelings, you know, and it's like, it's not always gonna be this, like,
you know, I just put a video up on my YouTube channel talking about that, and talking about,
I didn't see it.
Well, it's talking about angelic communication and connecting, you know, that how do we start the, you know, one of the ways that how can we start a connection with angelic angels. But it's funny because you're right.
Yeah.
It could be a blob. It could be an animal. It could be a tree. Yeah. It could be an unexplainable something.
Yeah.
That could just be an energy. And I love that you're bringing that up, but we have to do a discussion on that, because it is also our expectations of having the goddess or the deity show up that may block the subtleness of the supreme come through in whatever form it may need to, you know.
It's really interesting. Really interesting to think about. I wrote it down.
Yay!
I wrote it down, guys.
See, when we have these discussions, we go here, we go there, we go everywhere. That's the problem,
because we're like, so we like standing in the door talking. I'm like, let's just go eat now, because we're just talking this whole time.
Well, I don't know. Are we gonna wrap this?
I think that's good. Yeah.
It's amazing to connect with you guys, you know, and we absolutely love you for all the comments and the reception, you know, that you have for us, for the things, you know, the comments, the mysteries that we share, the topics that we share, and we love that they speak to you, you know, and we love the comments and the support. So thank you so very much. Yes.
Yeah, I hope you guys, I don't know if we're going to be able to do one next week, but maybe like the 2019 is going to be when we're like a weekly thing. Because next week my travel is like crazy.
Okay.
I don't want to be like, yes, and then be that morning like, Blanca, you know? So we'll let you guys know. But just in case, if you don't see us next week on Friday, that's, you know why. It's just a very crazy week.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So, but we're going to get
traveling loon. We have to hold tight to her before she disappears into famehood. Into bigger famehood, I should say.
Like, swimming in it.
And by the way, we want to remind the viewers, the subscribers, that Loon and I have a retreat in Costa Rica. You know, we're sort of putting the buzz out there.
Yeah, we've been kind of quiet about it a little bit, and I'm trying to be more active too.
We have some beautiful angels that have signed up, and we have some definitely space. And we're really excited about that beautiful retreat. Emergence. It's going to be shamanic. It's going to be purifying. It's going to be electric.
There's like, between the two of us, like, you're cosmic and shamanic. I'm cosmic and shamanic. But I think that I think that that's where we complement each other. You know, like where we have like the grounder. Well, I don't know. I feel like I'm your grounder too. Again, so it's really filling in the gaps for each other. But, yeah, like that, I see it as like this cosmic and shamanic work together, and that's really where that, like, unification comes through for the emergence of the most whole and complete self to step into and work that way.
We're excited.
Yeah.
And so, yes, we're excited just to be part of it and to be, of course, leading it and just merging with you, with everybody who joins us. And so, anyway, we wanted to put that out. You can find that in our website or in Ascensia.
You know what? I'll just put it in below this video.
Right.
Better to make it easy.
Take a look and see if it resonates with you. And
Yeah. And we have an expo on the 16th for those of you in New York.
Of course,
or
I've
New
driven
Jersey.
everybody who's on my YouTube channel crazy telling them. But 2 weeks away, if you happen to be in the tri-state area, you really don't want to miss this. Over 50 light workers on the floor. It is just stepping into that space. It's healing.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It is.
It's
fun.
One of my favorite days.
It's purifying. It's feeding, fueling, and it's happening over the holidays. So of course you could do some shopping. There's workshops throughout the day. I cannot wait. And so if you happen to be in the tri-state area, make sure you stop by our tables and say hello. Yeah, we will be there.
Yeah.
And so we love you guys. Thank you so much, and we'll see you again really soon. Anything else that you wanted to share?
No, that's it.
Yep.
Yeah, just
best
wishes. We love you.
We love you. We leave you always with our love, with our light, and with our peace. I love you very much. Love you. See you soon.
Bye.